Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Blitz Live on this Tuesday evening. Andy and Luke here with you. We're going to go to the phone line and welcome in the recruiting analyst for 24/7 Sports, Mr. Keith Niebuhr. Keith, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Not a whole lot. Understand that you're actually in the middle of checking out a prospect right now. Said you're standing pretty close to Gus Malzahn himself.
I sure am. I'm at Lanier High School, about 15 miles north of Atlanta. At Lanier High School is one of the top linebacker targets still uncommitted in the country. That's Tyler Taylor. Gus Malzahn is visiting tonight. You get one head coach visit during the contact period. Gus used to attend Tyler's basketball game. He's here with linebackers coach Travis Williams and secondary coach Greg Brown. They hit another prospect in Atlanta earlier today, and their main competition is the Oklahoma Sooners. And Oklahoma linebackers coach Tim Kish, who I also know, is in the stands as well. The game has just ended. And funny, but the Oklahoma coach and the Auburn coaches are kind of chatting it up right now. That's usually how it goes. It's usually pretty cordial. But during the game, Gus Malzahn and the Auburn coaches were able to sit with Tyler's parents, and that's usually customary. The other coach that's here, he's on his own. He's not with the head coach. So you kind of cede that time to the school that is there with the head coach, who then, gets all that time with the prospects. So right now, Gus Malzahn hanging out with the family of Tyler Taylor, Oklahoma's linebackers coach, kind of off to the side a little bit, chatting with one of the other Auburn coaches.
Well, obviously Auburn looking for a linebacker commitment from him, but Another commitment that got bumped up today was T.D. Moultrie. This is a kid that I absolutely love out of the Birmingham area. I've been impressed with him ever since I saw him and interviewed him at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game. I just think he's a great talent, and he got moved all the way up to number 18 in the country today.
Yeah, great kid, great story. Actually took a bullet a couple years ago, was shot out of the park in Birmingham. He's been committed to Auburn for quite some time. Was very good at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, was very good during his senior season, and then 2 weeks ago in San Antonio, Texas, myself and the other members of the 24/7 sports staff got a good look at him, and he's just impressive. I mean, he doesn't he doesn't wow you with his height and weight. He's just a little over 6 feet, 228, no fat, I should point out, but it's just the way he plays and the motor he has. And a cool thing for him, he got to get coached up by former Auburn great and Pro Football Hall of Famer Kevin Green. Not a better pass rusher in the NFL in the 1990s than Kevin Green. And Kevin Green thinks that TD's future maybe is a rush guy, maybe is an edge rusher, because he's so explosive and has the great COD, the change of direction, which you cannot coach. You either got it or you don't, and not many people have it. Like T.D. Moultrie, he's going to end up as the highest-rated Auburn commitment in the 24/7 sports rankings, ahead of, highest-rated high school prospect, ahead of even Calvin Ashley, the five-star offensive tackle. So big day for him, but I'll tell you guys, T.D. Moultrie is the last guy that cares about rankings. And, in fact, I talked to him about rankings in San Antonio, and he flat out said, I never look at him. That's the kind of guy you want on your team.
It is, and I'll tell you another kid that has really moved up the charts, and I think he's the #1 wide receiver in the country now, right here out of the state of Alabama, and that's Henry Ruggs. Does Auburn still have a chance with him?
I don't think so. Let's just be honest here. I don't think so. I think it's Alabama 1, FSU 2, and maybe some other teams like Florida still somewhat in the mix. He's kind of moved away from Auburn a little bit in the last couple of months. It's been trending in the other direction. Great player, super athlete. He's not a finished product, though. So, in other words, he's going to need a little work, but the upside on him is sensational. I think he'll work hard. And, again, an athletic freak, you hate to use the term freak too much, but when a guy's 6 feet tall and his waist is up by the rim when he's playing basketball, then you can basically say he's an athletic freak. You know what I mean? If I could dunk like him for a day, man, I'll tell you what, I'd give up a few years of my life to be able to do what he can do on the basketball court. And that kind of athleticism transcends to the football field for him. That's what makes him so special and has such a great upside.
Well, the Auburn Tigers now with 20 commits, ranked 8th in the country, that class. When you look at it really from top to bottom, how do you think it fulfills Auburn's needs right now?
Well, needs have to be 2 years out, is what I always say. People are like, oh, my God, we need receivers right now. Well, if you need them right now, then you got problems, right? So 2 years out is what you're looking for. So I think Auburn's doing great on the offensive line where they can work these guys in slowly. They're doing great at linebacker where every single linebacker's back. They can work them in slowly. Very good in the secondary. They can work them in slowly. You've got the two quarterbacks, one who you can develop, and then another one who you're going to have battling for the starting job in the spring. Where you really want to see more is at receiver and on the defensive line. But remember, last year Auburn signed an unbelievable D-line class. and an unbelievable receivers class. So it was natural that there was going to be a little bit of a step back at those two spots this year. The good news, you don't need those guys to start right away. Whatever guys you get, you can slowly develop, to be honest with you. You can be patient with them. Now, that doesn't mean they won't play. But if you're good enough, they will. But the areas that they needed to do well, I think they have done well. Especially, let's be honest, guys, Jarrett Stidham is maybe the most important recruit in the entire country. Forget about the team. I mean, period. That is a potential game changer. We will see. Still got to win the job, but that is a potential game changer for Auburn. Let's just call it what it is.
Absolutely. Auburn has, in previous years, been pretty notorious for finishing strong down the stretch. It seems like they're not in on as many big recruits right now, but how do you think Auburn finishes this recruiting?
Yeah. Sorry, to be honest, not as many big guys late. You got to hold on to Calvin Ashley. That's the big one. That's Maryland is pushing hard. He's up in D.C. playing. There's a lot of pressure up there to go to Maryland, so they got to hold on to him. And they got to just finish with some, one more good linebacker. They're trying to work on a guy as we speak. I mean, I'm watching Gus Malzahn recruit right now, and you want another receiver, but that may not come until after you hire an offensive coordinator. We'll have to see. And then really the defensive line, Ryan Johnson would be a big get, an in-state kid. Looks like Auburn and Stanford really battling it out there. And he's going to find out this week if he gets into Stanford. That's an interesting one because when that kid gets accepted to Stanford, boy, it's hard to. I mean, that's an opportunity that not too many kids are passing up these days. So we'll see what happens there.
You speak of the offensive coordinator search. Do you have any thoughts about that? What direction Auburn might be moving?
No, I don't, because I really follow it from. I let our team, the guys that cover the team, handle all that. I follow it from once it happens, and then I hit the kids. Okay, what do you think? But the reality is with a coordinator hire, a lot of times it's a coach that the kids at Auburn and these schools don't know. I mean, they don't know who coaches are at Oregon and Texas, and they really. I mean, when Will Muschamp got hired at Florida, I remember we interviewed a bunch of kids that were Gator recruits, and they're like, "Who the heck is that?" Well, you guys know who it was, and I knew who it was, but we take it for granted sometimes. 16-year-old kids don't know. What they want to see is an exciting product and a winning product, and a guy they think can get him to the NFL, whatever position he coaches, whether it's quarterbacks or something else. So, they'll do their research. If you're a coach and you walk into a school and you've got that Auburn logo on your jacket or your shirt, that gets you in the door 99% of the time too. So I think every kid's sort of curious, but I don't think it's going to impact this class too much because the quarterbacks are already early enrolled. Jarrett Stidham and Malik Willis. Your offensive linemen are already committed. Your running backs, your fullback. You're working on a fullback. So I don't think it's going to impact too much now, but moving forward, obviously, what they do in the spring, what they do early next fall will determine what kind of offensive class you put together the next cycle.
Well, Keith, we really appreciate you joining us. Talk a little bit about the SEC Recruiting Buzz podcast.
Oh, yeah, it's just a little thing we do on iTunes. We get a lot of good ratings, though. I will say a lot of people like it. So if you have iTunes or Google Play, you just want to do a search for SEC Recruiting Buzz. And obviously, I work for 24/7 Sports, so you can find a lot of my stuff there, too. And, it's busy this time of year. We're trying to do as many insider pieces as we can, pieces that you're not going to get anywhere else, we hope.
We'll follow Keith at Keith 24/7 Sports, Keith Niebuhr. We really appreciate you joining us. Good stuff as always.
Yeah, anytime, guys. And I hope the sound wasn't too bad. I'm in the middle of a high school gym here, so I apologize, everybody listening, if I didn't come through too clearly.
No problem at all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith.
Yes.
Keith Niebuhr from 24/7 Sports. He does a great job with all the recruiting.